Let's bow our heads for just a moment as I start. Father in heaven, you are so amazing, and we love you. We are so happy you made the Sabbath, because if you didn't, we'd probably just be spending this day like every other day of the week, and that'd be a shame. But we get to stop and think about how amazing you are. And so today, on this amazing day, thank you for being with us. Amen. Okay, so we're going to have some fun today. Let me get my clicker going here. Okay. Imagine that you are a mugger. Oh, my goodness. You get excited about the very thought of hitting people over the head and grabbing their purses. My goodness, you can make money like you can believe. Once in a while, yeah, you grab a purse and there's not much in it, but, it was still fun. And, you just get a totally kick out of it. But once in a while, you get caught. So let's imagine two different scenarios. The first one is that the police, they catch you, and so they explain to you that you shouldn't be doing that, and that's not very good, and they want you to apologize, and you do, and they let you go. Really? Or there's a second, imagine this. Imagine that you have a rich dad, and when you get caught, there's some money that he can pay, and you're out free. Too cool. So how do you feel about your interest in being a mugger? It's not that bad. Not much risk, and the profits are pretty good. And you really wouldn't have that much concern about getting caught if it was that easy to get out of it, for goodness sakes. So... But what if you accidentally killed somebody while you were mugging them? You didn't mean to, but you hit them a little too hard. And, could your dad pay a price for that? Huh. Oh. Well, actually, you don't need to imagine you're a mugger, because you actually are. What? Now, I realize you all look like banditos. Now I'm calling you a mugger. Well, actually, let's get into this a little bit and see where we go with it. Well, actually, there's a great story here about why I'm calling you a mugger right here in church. That isn't very nice, but there's a really cool story. It's found in Genesis, and it talks about this amazing garden that God built, and He created these two amazing people. You've heard of them, Adam and Eve, and you know the story. They could have everything. I mean, it was beyond your imagination. Fabulous. I mean, the animals were tame. How cool would that be? Well, except for one thing. There was one little old tree over in the corner that you couldn't go and eat off of. One thing. So guess what they thought of all the time? One tree. Well, in Genesis 3, verses 9 to 13, it says this. But the Lord called to the man, "Where are you?" And he answered and said, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And he said, "Told you you were naked. Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat?" Oops. Well, the man said, "Of course, that woman. It's the woman. The woman you put here for me." I think she's blaming God a little bit too there, don't you think? She's the one that gave me the fruit from the tree, and I ate it. I didn't have much choice. All those people wanted me to eat it. So then the Lord said to the woman, "Well, what is it this you have done?" Well, that serpent deceived me. I got tricked. I got deceived, and I ate it. So what kind of attitude do Adam and Eve have about their sin? Blame somebody else. It's not my fault. I didn't mean to. It was how hard. I mean, one tree. You couldn't let me eat from that one tree. I don't know. I'm sure it's God's fault somehow. Oh, wow. We need to find out what's going on here. How come such a terrible thing could happen to cause us today to sit in church with masks on? Well, 1 John 3:8 tells us some of the secrets. We're going to look at more of them. He who sins, that'd be Adam and Eve, isn't it, is of the devil. Woo! If I'm a mugger, am I of the devil? Oh my goodness. For the devil has sinned from the beginning. Before Adam and Eve, the devil had sinned. For this purpose, this is why the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Wow, that's a powerful text. It says that somebody's out to get you and somebody's out to save you. I think we better look into this a little bit deeper. So where did this sin thing start in the first place? We already discovered it's not the serpent. It wasn't Adam and it wasn't Eve. It must have been somebody else. Well, maybe it was the serpent. Actually, John 8:44 says, you belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. Your dad is the devil? What? He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth. When he lies, he speaks his native language. Whoa. That's the only way he knows how to talk, is lies. For he is a liar, and he's the father of lies. Wow, I don't want to be that. All right, it's getting serious now. So where did this Satan come from in the first place? Who let this guy in? Well, he came from heaven. He lived up in heaven, and it was beautiful and peaceful, and billions upon billions and billions of years had passed in fabulous harmony, as was God's plan when he created the angels. Revelation 12, however, tells us that war broke out in heaven. War. I don't believe there were many machine guns used in this war. It says, Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail. Revelation also tells us very plainly that the dragon is the devil. Nor was a place found for them in the heaven any longer. Whoa, a war in heaven. That just doesn't even compute at all. Okay, verse 9. So down the great dragon was hurled. Down, where? Well, here. Oh, shoot. How about Mars or Venus or... Wow. Well, there weren't any people there. There were people here. The one called the devil and Satan, who is misleading the entire inhabited earth. He was hurled down to the earth, and his angels were hurled down with him. Okay. He's not only the devil, but his angels? This is not fair. So why did God create Satan in the first place? Hello? Couldn't he just skip that guy? Well, God did not create Satan. He created Lucifer, a beautiful, beautiful angel, perfect in every way. Now, how old Lucifer was when he decided to change it, I don't know. But I suspect it had been a long, long time. He had been in the presence of God and served God and loved God. But the Bible tells us, Ezekiel 28, you were the anointed cherub who covers. Only 2 covering cherubs, one on each side of the throne of God. He was one of them. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones. What happened? I did so much for you. Lucifer was created by God, as were all of the other angels. Lucifer was one of the highest, most exalted angels in heaven. His beauty was flawless and breathtaking. His wisdom was perfect. Well, maybe not completely. His brightness was awe-inspiring, that's for sure. So why did Satan rebel if everything was so great? Well, when God made us and when God made angels, there was one little flaw that he left in us. We get to choose. Now, if he had just made us robots, that wouldn't be good either, would it? So why did Satan rebel? Ezekiel 28 tells us, your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. It was that mirror. He saw how cute he was, and pride and jealousy and discontent arose in Lucifer's heart. Who was better than Lucifer? Only God. So I guess I want to be God. He soon began to desire to unseat God and to demand that everyone worship him. Angels weren't worshipped, you know, only God. So why is worship such a big deal? Well, actually, it's a pretty big deal because it's actually the key factor to everything about our existence and the angels' existence. The key factor is the ongoing conflict between God and Satan. People were created to be happy and fulfilled when they worship God. Any other path, dead end. You're meant to be fulfilled and happy. Not even the angels of heaven are to be worshipped. Satan selfishly sought this worship for himself. Everybody worships somebody. Did you know that? Or something. Power, prestige, money, food, pleasure, possessions, self. There's something that's number one in your life. Something that's on the throne at your house and in your life. Well, it was pretty important. You remember God actually came down to talk to Moses one day and took some stones, took his finger and wrote in the rocks what we refer to as the 10 Commandments. Guess what number 1 says? No other gods before me, and me only shall you worship. There was only God to be worshipped. It was never meant to be, nor does it work, as we can see today. Well, like Lucifer, we have a choice about whom we worship. If we choose to worship anyone or anything other than the Creator, He will honor your choice. Pretty big deal. He's going to let you do it. You get to decide who you're going to worship and put as number 1 on your throne. When we choose to let anyone or anything other than God receive first place in our lives, we miss the amazing blessings that He has in store for us. and it makes us unsafe for heaven. You know what that means. You miss it. He has answers for you and your family right now. Okay, let's take a look. Let's pretend and imagine that you were interviewing for someone to help you to make your life decisions, and you and God were the only 2 candidates. So you're looking for somebody to be in charge, be on your throne. And you only have 2 candidates. You can pick God or you can pick yourself. So, guess you know which one I picked. And I'm sure glad I did. That was a long time ago, and I've had the blessings of having God on my side all these years. But if you haven't picked, imagine this is you, and you're going to hire somebody to be on the throne. Okay, you get to pick God or yourself. Who would you pick? Well, alas, most people pick themselves. Ta-ding! Not so. It's not possible to pick yourself. I forgot to tell you, it's a trick question. You just picked the devil. Surprise. You can't pick yourself. He wins by default. If you don't pick God, you automatically got the devil. That's it. There's nothing in between. There are 2 choices. But it's not between you and God. It's between that guy and God. There's a big, huge controversy, a big fight going on that you and I are just pawns in. It's a really terrible story. if you think that if God isn't on the throne, you're definitely on the mugger's side, because he's out to get you, and he'll do anything he can to get you. Okay. Devil gets to be the default. That's not fair, but let's look, see what it says. Isaiah 14. How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Still calling him Lucifer. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Well, okay. He got thrown out. Now he's mad. But then he takes a look around, and 1/3 of the angels came with him. Oh, man. Now, there's a lot of angels. So I'm guessing a 1/3 is an awful lot of angels as well. That's quite a bunch. I know what I'll do. I'll get even. Nobody's throwing me out of heaven. Are you kidding me? I was pretty important up there. So, I'm going to go after the humans. God really loves them, and that's how I'm going to get him. Satan spends his time inflicting this anger against the human race. If I can't get the dad, I'm going to get the kids. Revelation tells us more of this story. Whoa. That means watch out. Beware. Pay attention. And that means this is serious. To the inhabitants of the earth, that's us, and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath. We don't use that word too much, but that means he's mad. Because he knows that he has a short time. I think it's getting really short. So, what's the result of this mugging? Let's take a look at Romans 6:23, because there's got to be an answer here. This is not looking too good. Default for the devil. That's not even fair, I don't think. Well, maybe there is an answer. And we already know that the wages of sin is death. Adam and Eve found that out right away. You and I know it. Okay, that's not fair. Well, I should say that is fair, actually. The way you sin, you die. That's makes sense. Okay, that's okay. But oh wait, let's finish the verse. But I love that. But the gift of God is eternal life in Jesus Christ our Lord. Yes. Okay. Now, there's a word there I really like. It's called gift. Would you like a gift? I love gifts. They're pretty fun. That means it's, how much does it cost? Free. 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 That's a pretty, I'll buy anything it's free. That's for sure. But I have to accept it. It's not going to be forced down my throat or crammed down my back. I must recognize that I need God on the throne, and I need to surrender the throne that I think I'm sitting on, but I'm not. Remember who is, the default guy, and let him have the whole thing. There's no such thing, by the way, of half a throne. That doesn't happen. So, I guess I do have a rich dad after all. Awesome. Okay. What did Romans say also? It says, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. You see, the penalty for sin is death. It's been paid. Awesome. Okay. Wow. Free gift. Okay, I like that a lot. What was Jesus doing when he died on the cross? How does that... he paid the price. If the price required death, he stepped up and said, I'll volunteer. The sentence of death went upon him. What was his motive? Why would he do that? That's pretty amazing. It's not that we could do anything for him. Oh, goodness. We were powerless. It was not that we had any merit. You mugger, you deserve nothing. Maybe to be mugged. Well, a gift, huh? Guess he did it because he loves us. Whoa. Amen. Love. That's a pretty good reason to give us a gift. That's how come I get gifts at Christmas from the people that love me. It's pretty fun. Okay, but wait. In addition to getting away from not having to die, that's pretty cool. There's a couple of things. If you open the gift, hello, let's open the gift. There's two things inside. First, all of the sins of the past are forgiven. All. But there's more. That's not all. The second one is the power to live right now. You don't have to stay in that state. You get to be a different person. And that gift contains the power. Because of Jesus' gift to you, I'm talking to you. You have these amazing gifts. Open it up. Take it out. Put it on. And never let go. Jesus Christ, who gave himself for us to redeem us from all wickedness and to purify for himself a people that are his very own. I love this. Eager to do what is good. That's us. That is us. That's why you're here today, isn't it? Because you're eager to please God and to worship God, and you came to do that. Philippians even tells us that for it is God who works in you. Hello, that's by invitation. You got to open the door and let him in. Let him get up on the throne. Kick that other guy off. I know you thought it was you, but it isn't. Let him in there. And to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. He will change you from the inside. That's not your job. Your job is to give up. I wonder which job is harder. Must be giving up, must be harder. We're kind of liking running things ourselves, even though we're not actually. You probably didn't know that before. There is no way for a person to become righteous by his own efforts. And you know, righteous means to be perfect or right doing, do the right things. Because righteousness only comes through grace. What does grace mean? Being treated the way you don't deserve, praise God. Thank God I'm not treated the way I deserve. I deserve more than what that mugger was going to get. Only Jesus can supply it. This righteousness that you receive from God on your part is by faith. Pretty cool. Which is the only true form of righteousness. The amazing truth of the amazing gift of salvation spurred the new Christian church. Remember, Jesus came and started up a new church. Christian church. They knew about Jesus and his life. And then they learned of his death and what it meant. And a few hundred years went by with this fabulously on-fire Christian church. And it's remained pretty good on fire for about 400-ish years. That's a long time. And then somebody was losing. And he wasn't happy. Matter of fact, he was pretty mad. Okay, he can get the ones that don't choose God on their throne. But these people that are choosing God on their throne, they're pretty serious about it. I don't know how in the world I'm going to get to them. This isn't fair. I can't even get a foot in the door. Aha. I got to change what I look like. I'm going to go undercover and put on a little camo. I need to have the people think I'm a Christian. Maybe then they'll listen if they thought I was on the same side they were on. Okay, I just need them to I don't need them to go, out and kill people. I just need them to compromise a little bit. Just a little bit. I'll let them think they're still on the right path. But I'm going to put myself back on the throne. Let's see, how can I do it? Okay. They're forming a pretty big church, and they're following the Lord. I got to start here somewhere. Okay, let's just tell people that when they die, they go to heaven. That's kind of cool. It's not in the Bible, but let's just tell people that. Let's just tell them that'd be a good compromise. A lot of the pagans around believe that. So let's start there, and how about let's baptize babies? That'd be cool. Then they'd think that once they brought their kids in and had to baptize, that was all taken care of, and they were done. They could do whatever they want. How about praying to Mary? Whoa, where'd that come from? He's getting bolder and bolder and bolder, I must say. Mary? Ask Mary to pray and help you? Oh, this one's a hard one. You know, being a Christian is actually pretty hard. You got to do all these things and don't and do and do and do. So if you make a mistake, it should cost you. Probably some money would be good. Or how about if you did some kind of penance? How about crawl upstairs on your knees? Because after all, you're a sinner. Compromise. Oh, here's a good one. How about if they thought that they were going to burn forever and ever and ever and ever in hell? I know Jesus didn't teach that, but I can teach them that because that would scare them into my new church. What a good idea. I like it. I like it. Well, 500, 600, 700 years go by. God's people compromised a great deal. But there were some that didn't. There was a light that was small. The Waldenses, the Huguenots, the different ones that lived, they had to hide in the woods and in caves and underground and worship God in ways that they would have never imagined they would have to do. People were disobeying this big church. What? The big church got more and more powerful. It took beautiful, fabulous, fine Christian people and tied them up to stakes and set them on fire. It took people down into dungeons and then took them out in the arena and let the lions loose. My sister and I had the chance to go to Italy and go to some ruins, and it was really neat. They were ruins, but here was all this arena, and then these paths that go down. We couldn't go there, but all the people that were there were really having a good time. And my sister and I wept when we thought about the people that walked up those steps for the last few minutes of their life because they would not compromise. Thank goodness for the preachers that came along and taught even the hardships and the trials that they had to go through. We remember one called Martin Luther. There was also Wycliffe and John Calvin and John Knox. Oh, there were so many reformers. In the 1500s, this church that was so powerful now was actually a world power, was having some challenges. Martin Luther said, after finding out in the Bible itself, what was being taught wasn't in the Bible. And he stood up and said, you don't become righteous by going upstairs on your knees or paying money to a priest or praying to Mary. No. Listen, people, the just shall live by faith. The price was paid. Don't fall for that. And so the Reformation began in the 1500s. Just live by faith. The just will live by faith. Well, I want to tell you a couple of stories. Seconda Musso. Isn't he cute? Born in 1828. That's a few hundred years after Martin Luther. Well, the reason he's special, as a matter of fact, he's very special. Because he was born in 1828 to Catholic parents in Italy. They don't get much more Catholic than a wealthy family in Italy that owned a vineyard. But he was the father of my grandmother. And because He was 46 years old when she was born. She was the 20th. And my father was born in 1912 when his mother was age 38. I stand before you to say that my grandmother's dad is going to be the one I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about. I am so proud. I can't stand it. When I was a little girl and heard these stories, I knew in my heart there was only one person I wanted to see the first when I got to heaven, and that was this guy. I had no idea I'd find a picture of him. I was so excited. I was born, my father was 34, so here we are in just a few hundred years practically. That was my great-grandfather. Okay, let's hear some stories. Well, first of all, they lived in Turin, Italy. His family had a large grape vineyard, as I said. They were quite wealthy, and he was one of the youngest. The older kids, as they got older, they all went to work on the farm. But Secondo decided that he wanted to go into the monastery and become a priest, and the family couldn't have been prouder. So he went, and he learned things that you couldn't learn on the farm. Became quite an intellectual fella. They still had the Bible chained on the wall. But you could go there and look at it and read it. In fact, the public could come in, but they just couldn't take one home. Secondo looked at the Bible and saw that the just shall live by faith, And he started causing trouble. He started talking up in class. Oh, no, but that's not, I don't know what he said. Remember, he's the first guy I'm going to talk to when I get there. I got lots of questions for him. But he started causing trouble. Well, they didn't like it at the monastery, and they wanted to send him home to his parents. Well, that would be embarrassing. So they locked him up. And I can still see my grandma, Bobby, putting her hands up like this and saying, there was a window about this big that had passed the food in to him. My grandpa was a prisoner. He was a young man on fire for the Lord, and he was in solitary confinement for some time. I don't know exactly how long, but I do believe it was quite a while. Now, what do they do with this kid they've been putting in prison for a while? Can't let him go. So, one day, after, I think years, a year-ish, something in that neighborhood, but we're not sure. He managed to escape. Well, they were mad, because here was this kid that got locked up and escaped, and he's going to tell everybody about it. So they sent their priests out to get him. And shortly after escape, he was found, and the priests wore a really large cross, big, heavy iron metal cross that hung down in front of their robes that they wore then. And these priests found him and knocked him down, and they took off these crosses, and they beat my grandpa till they thought he was dead. And they left him there, assuming that somebody would assume he got hit by a mugger. Well, he wasn't dead, and he somehow survived. I don't know the rest of that part of the story. He married my grandma, Philomena, and they were very active in underground churches and the Protestant movement. And it had come a ways from Martin Luther, but probably not as far as we might think this few years ago. So one night they were having an underground meeting, and they were always after my grandpa. They wanted to kill him still. And the more people that became Protestants, the more they wanted to kill my grandpa. Well, one night they waited. They knew where this meeting was, and they waited till the people left, and Grandma and Grandpa left last. So the shot rang out, and my grandma's earlobe was cut off. That's pretty close. Then there was a baby born. They moved to Venice at some point, and they had 20 children, as I said, my dad's mom being the last, but several of the children didn't live too long. Some lived, they had shorter lives than we do, that's for sure. Anyway, a baby was born, and they lived in Venice, and the baby died right away within a short amount of time. Well, the officials, they're Protestants, and it's everything in Italy is Catholic. So the officials sent them a notice that they were to throw the baby on the garbage scow when it came by, because they couldn't bury him in the cemetery. They would send the Catholics to hell. Couldn't be allowed. So he had to be thrown in the garbage. Well, my grandparents wouldn't do it. The garbage scow came by and left without a baby on it. And a couple of days, big soldiers came to the door, several of them. They said, "We are here under command of whoever, and we're come to get the baby." And my grandpa went in and grabbed the baby, and I can still see my grandma with her arms crossed like this, telling this story to me several times, holding that baby, that dead baby. And they demanded that they give the baby to them. And they pulled on his arms. Several big guys couldn't budge him. They had to leave with no baby. Well, something has to happen to this dead baby. You can't just throw him in the canal. So finally, Grandpa was able to get permission to bury him in the ground. They didn't have any ground where they lived, outside the fence. I want to see that baby in heaven too. Wow. Well, this week was a special on several layers. But the high of my week was I was preparing for this talk with you today, and I was thinking about these stories about my grandpa and decided I wanted to share some stories. I've managed to do a little research. I found out his name and his birth date. That was pretty exciting. And when I got to this web page that showed his tombstone and two of his daughters that died in their early 20s, I was ecstatic when I found an obituary about my grandpa. Now, I'm going to share a little bit of it with you because it's amazing. And if you're interested, I might even email you some of it because it's an amazing story. It's not long. It's an obituary. How it survived and ended up on the internet for me to find, I don't know, but I've waited a long time to hear words from my grandpa. I've been wanting to talk to him for a long time. I'm going to read a few sentences. P.S. The sentence is equal to a paragraph. That's how they did it in the old days. So here's the first sentence. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's so amazing. Being at all times of a free and liberal mind, he soon found that he was confronted from the alternative to either suppress his love of frankness, liberty, and dictations of his conscience, or else have the pleasure of the church, which he well understood to mean antagonism of the great power in all and to all his life undertakings. That's the first sentence. The choice was made in accord with his broad mind and pure conscience, but the choice was of a declaration of war from that day, 1849, till the year 1866. He was continually at battle, first in defense against the false accusations as to his teachings of liberty of speech and conscience. His particular mission was to preach the gospel and starting of Christian congregations in those towns and cities where there were none such, and therefore his task was always a hard one. Many were the plots laid and the attempts made for the taking of his life and liberty, but neither by prudence, but especially by his fearless and the hand of protection from above, his life was always spared. In 1865, an attempt was made which came very near putting an end to his eventful life. While coming from the post office and passing in front of the Catholic Church, the priest had been in waiting for him, came out with pretext that he wished to speak to him. Suddenly and treacherously, with one hand grabbed his long beard, and with the other struck him a blow with some iron instrument, causing a fracture of his skull. He fell to the ground as dead, and then with the help of a few of the ruffians, they stomped on the prostrate man with their feet, all over his body. Almost miraculously, some of his friends noticed the scene and came boldly to his rescue. And after a hard struggle, succeeded in carrying him to his home to be met by his wife, who was in such condition that shortly afterwards she gave birth to a child that suffered from palpitation of the heart. I wonder what that really was. And soon died, and that's the child I told you the story about. Recovering from this shock and seeing his family in constant danger and almost deprived from the schools on account of the different religious beliefs, and knowing the freedom to be enjoyed in the United States and wishing that his family might enjoy such privileges, he in 1866 came to this country with his oldest son. A year after, he returned to Italy, but as one after another of his 4 sons came to this country, it wasn't until 1889 that he came to California, where all his family except one is now residing. This is obituary, so this is at the time of his funeral. He contented himself in a life of mediocrity in the midst of his loved ones rather than to seek a higher position, which his intellectual abilities and being well versed in Greek, Latin, French, and Italian, would have made it easy for him to obtain. While death has ended this useful life, his deeds remain. Having sown the good seed in his life, the harvest will be great, and his crown will be proportionate. You know how happy I was. This is one of the best weeks of my life to find those words written about my grandpa. The just shall live by faith. A lot of people died for that. As a price that's been paid already. How stupid would you be to miss out on something that's already paid for? I know that's not you. Okay, real quickly. Jesus made some promises to you. Would you like to know what he promised you? Okay, if you want, you can write these texts down because I'm going to go kind of fast. He will cover our past sins and count us as guiltless. Whoa, that's pretty amazing. That's his promise. Jesus promises to restore us in God's image. Whoa, back to like Adam and Eve. Jesus gives us the desire and power to do God's will. We couldn't even do it if he didn't help us do it. Or should I say, do it for us. Jesus will help us to do only the things that please God. He removes our death sentence by giving us credit for his sinless life and atoning death. And Jesus assumes responsibility for helping to keep us faithful until he returns. It was a high cost. Who do you want on your throne? You want the mugger? I got news for you. The mugger doesn't love you. The mugger doesn't even like you. Jesus died for you. And he died because of his love for you. We can't change it. This battle is going on. And this battle will go on until Jesus returns, which I believe is pretty soon. And there are only 2 people battling for your throne. You're not one of them. I got good news for you. I read the back of the book. Jesus wins. Father in heaven, wow. I can't express my happiness for what you've done for me. I can't tell you how amazing you are. I just know this, that I am abundantly grateful. I will proclaim your name anywhere and any time. I am so proud of my grandpa and what he did. I want to be like that. I want to be willing to step out and step up and do whatever you ask. Please, God, help us to change our lives and say, all right, There's no such thing as a half a throne. You get the whole thing. Thank you, Lord. Amen.